In an attempt to have Batman appeal more to children, the character of Robin was introduced in Detective Comics issue number 38. The mantle will be occupied by Dick Grayson, a member of a family of trapeze artists, whose parents were killed by a gangster named Tony Zuko who was trying to extort money from the circus. Almost 50 years later, in 1987, a DC comic book event called Crisis on Infinite Earths resulted in the entire DC universe being rebooted. In the wake of that, writer Frank Miller and artist David Mazzucchelli decided to expand on the early days of the Dark Knight in Batman Year One. And with the success of that title, there were more. You had Batman Year 2, Batman Year 3, JLA Year 1, and eventually, Robin would get a Year 1 title himself. This is Robin Year 1.
Dick Grayson, age 12.
Oops, sorry. Wrong Robin origin story.
We open up on a gangster named Minetti talking to a lawyer about how he, Minetti, wound up in jail. Minetti informs the lawyer about the Bat's new partner. Much to Minetti's chagrin, the lawyer excuses himself and leaves the prison to inform his employer, Harvey Dent, otherwise known as Two-Face.
Harvey Dent was once the youngest, hottest district attorney in Gotham City. That is, until actions taken during the trial of mob boss Sal Maroni, or Carmine Falcone, depending on which story you read, resulted in sulfuric acid being thrown into Harvey's face. The resulting disfigurement caused Harvey to develop a dichotomous personality known as Two-Face. Two-Face has the distinction of having almost all of his actions be dictated by the flipping of a two-headed coin. One of the sides is completely scarred.
Meanwhile, we visit a group of would-be robbers as they attempt to rob a delivery truck, only be interrupted by Batman. Batman makes quick work of most of the group, save for the last two, who get taken out by Robin. The newly formed dynamic duo return to the Batcave, where Alfred makes Dick some turkey sandwiches while Bruce excuses himself. Alfred then approaches Dick and asks if he, Dick, is content with being Batman's sidekick. Dick points out that he doesn't want anyone else to end up like him or Bruce. And if someone's going to help Batman, it might as well be him. The next day at school, Dick bonds with a few of his new classmates, even meeting a new potential love interest. Unfortunately, said girl, named Jenny, becomes a victim in a mass kidnapping scheme being perpetrated by the Mad Hatter.
Travis Tetch is a mad scientist specializing in hypnosis and mind control. Obviously, he has kind of an Alice in Wonderland fetish and not really a 19th century haberdasher suffering from mercury poisoning fetish. But later on in his career, he actually wound up joining a group known as the Secret Six, a collection of criminals who would occasionally try to do some good in the world.
Captain Jim Gordon, he had yet to make commissioner, contacts Batman via the bat signal and fills both Batman and Robin in on the kidnappings. After recognizing Jenny's picture, Dick uses the next day at school to listen in on a conversation one of Jenny's friends had with one of Gotham's detectives. Turns out that Jenny started acting strangely after receiving a pair of free headphones from a rather familiar-looking vendor.
Sony Electronics. If this comic were being published today, would it be Zeets by Dre?
Dick is able to locate the Hatter and sees him drive off with another girl. He tries to contact Bruce, but Alfred informs him that Bruce is attending a gala for the Malaysian Prime Minister. Alfred picks Dick up, and Dick then changes into his costume and uses the car radio to hone in on the Hatter's brainwashing signal. Alfred and Dick arrive at the Hatter's hideout, where Dick finds the kidnapped girls are no longer there. After taking out the lone henchman, Dick finds out that the Hatter is hiding on board a cruise ship. Robin makes his way to the cruise ship, which just happens to be the same ship that Bruce is on. Turns out that the Malaysian Prime Minister has a thing for underage girls in blonde wigs.
Underage sex trafficking. You know, for kids.
Robin locates the kidnapped girls and tries to wake them from their hypnotic slumber, in particular Jenny. Meanwhile, the police arrive and try to catch the ship before it hits international waters. However, the ship is halted after Bruce Wayne accidentally spills his drink on the navigation controls. Back with Robin, his efforts at waking Jenny are interrupted by the Mad Hatter. The Hatter uses his controls to turn the girls on Robin.
Ah, now Robin actually gets to live every 12-year-old boy's dream. Am I right?
Robin manages to hit the Hatter's hat with a batarang and shut down his mind control. Robin then takes out the Mad Hatter along with the PM's aide. Afterwards, the police take the criminals into custody and begin returning their girls to their homes. Bruce returns to Wayne Manor to discipline Dick, but Alfred points out that he was only trying to prove himself to Bruce. Bruce then enters the Batcave and congratulates Dick on a job well done. Weeks go by and Robin assists Batman in apprehending Killer Moth, the Clue Master, Firefly, and Blockbuster. Dick even manages to score a date with Jenny. The date, however, is interrupted when the bat signal appears in the sky. Gordon informs Batman and Robin that Two-Face has abducted Judge Watkins, the man who was presiding over the court case where Harvey was disfigured. Gordon then takes Batman aside and confronts him about Robin and the inherent dangers of using an underage individual in activities like this.
Gordon is not alone in his concerns. Throughout the story, Alfred has been keeping a journal which details his constant worrying about the fact that Bruce has dragged an underage individual into the crime-fighting world.
Realizing that Two-Face is an entirely different level of villain than Robin's faced before, Batman heeds Gordon's advice and tells Robin to sit this one out. Unfortunately, Robin doesn't listen, and he gets the two of them captured by Two-Face. At Two-Face's hideout, Dent shows Robin the bodies of Batman and Judge Watkins, which have been strung up for a hanging. Robin then tries to outwit Dent by first making him flip to see who dies first, Batman or Watkins. Robin then makes Dent flip for whether or not Watkins will hang. This proves to be a mistake, however, as Watkins doesn't hang. Instead, he drowns. Two-Face removes Batman's blindfold and then begins beating Robin mercilessly, even including bludgeoning him with a baseball bat, so that Robin will know it was the Bat who killed him. Batman manages to break free and take out Two-Face and his goons. He then picks up Robin's battered body and rushes back to the Batcave. Upon arrival, Bruce informs Alfred he's dying. Alfred is able to clean and dress Dick's wounds, but he's unable to truly stabilize Dick's condition. Afraid of the ramifications of taking the boy to a hospital, Batman instead chooses to take Robin to the office of Dr. Leslie Tompkins.
Leslie Tompkins is a doctor who operates a free clinic in the section of Gotham known as Crime Alley. She was actually one of the first people to comfort Bruce Wayne in the wake of his parents' murder. She is also aware of Bruce's identity as Batman, though unlike Alfred, she really does not support it at all. She's often berating him for his actions as she patches up his wounds. And this case is no different.
As Robin recuperates, Batman has another meeting with Gordon. Gordon explains that Two-Face is now behind bars. He then confronts Batman with the bloody baseball bat that Two-Face used on Robin. Batman assures Gordon that Robin is alive and retired. Later, Bruce checks up on Dick as he wakes from a nightmare. Dick tries to tell Bruce that he'll be back in crime-fighting shape in 2 weeks, but Bruce says no. Months go by. Dick recovers from his injuries, but Alfred notes that he and Bruce are growing further and further apart. Later, while Dick is receiving his most recent checkup from Dr. Tompkins, the clinic is attacked by Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze was often thought as a stock villain in Batman's Rogues Gallery. That was until the early 90s when writer Paul Dini retooled Mr. Freeze's origin in the Batman the Animated Series episode Heart of Ice, which is often hailed as a classic. This origin would also be included in the not as successful or as beloved Batman and Robin movie.
Freeze commandeers the hospital's blood supply in an attempt to extort $10 million from the city. Despite Dr. Tompkins' warnings, Dick takes off in pursuit. Meanwhile, Two-Face utilizes the commotion caused by Freeze to escape from prison. Back with Dick, he makes a brief stop at Wayne Manor where he picks up his mask and leaves a note for Bruce. He then heads over to the Frozen Fist warehouse where Freeze and his men are hiding out. Inside, Dick locks Freeze's henchmen in a room which allows him to take on Freeze himself. In the midst of the fight, the henchmen break free and begin to chase after Robin, just as Freeze fires his cold gun at Robin, inadvertently hitting his henchmen and killing them. Irate, Freeze begins firing off his gun wildly as he and Robin make their way to the roof of the building. However, it turns out the roof was frozen by the gun, and Freeze winds up falling through the roof. As Gordon arrives to pick up Freeze, Robin informs the police captain that he is indeed through. Back at Wayne Manor, Alfred discovers Dick's letter. Dick has run away. Dick begins making his way through the streets of Gotham. It's then that he sees a TV report on Two-Face's escape. Suddenly, a group of young thugs begin accosting Dick. Dick begins fighting them off with relative ease. It's then that the leader of the group emerges. It turns out that Dick Grayson has been auditioning for the League of Assassins.
The League of Assassins is a terrorist organization founded by Ra's al Ghul in order for protection. Some noteworthy members include Ra's daughter, Nissa al Ghul, the evil archer Merlin, Lady Shiva, David Kane, and their daughter, Cassandra Kane, who once held the mantle of Batgirl.
Back at Stonegate Prison, Manetti, the gangster from way back at the beginning of this story, calls in Shrike, the leader of the League of Assassins, in order to put a hit out on someone. Back at Assassin HQ, Dick is training with another member named Boone when Shrike arrives with a mission.
Now, I should note that while working for the League of Assassins, Dick uses the alias of Freddie Lloyd, but for the sake of ease, I am just going to be referring to him as Dick until the climactic part of the story, at which point I will then be referring to him as Robin.
The boys, being led by Dick and Boone, break into a museum and attempt to steal a rare manuscript. It is then that they are greeted by Shrike, who gives them their real assignment for the next night. Kill Harvey Dent. The next night, at the home Two-Face and his crew invited themselves over to, the junior assassins put their plan into motion. First, tricking Dent into taking out his guard dogs, then taking out the other guards around the compound, then terrorizing Dent's attorney, and then finally attacking Dent. Except Dent was expecting them, and he winds up taking Boone hostage. Dick freezes briefly, and Two-Face tries to get Dick to play the coin game again. Dick refuses. Two-Face snaps, allowing Dick to eventually gain the upper hand. The group then flees the house without having killed Two-Face. Dick breaks away from the group and makes his way back to the Batcave. He starts leaving a note for Batman when Alfred enters, and Dick tells Alfred to give Bruce the note. He then heads back to the League of Assassins headquarters. Unfortunately, Shrike is waiting for him. He knows Dick is lying, and he begins asking for the truth. Meanwhile, both Batman and Two-Face begin looking for the League of Assassins. Shrike begins trying to beat Dick into giving up his real name. It's then that someone states his name is Robin. Shrike begins fighting Batman, while Robin and Boone begin fighting each other. Robin gains the upper hand with Boone and then begins trying to lead Shrike away from Batman. It's then that Two-Face arrives and begins shooting wildly. Batman and Boone and Robin manage to duck for cover. Shrike, on the other hand, doesn't and gets killed. A wounded Batman then tries taking on Dent, but Harvey manages to get away. Robin tries to give pursuit, but Batman tells him to stand down. The two then leave the scene and return to the Batcave, where Alfred patches up Bruce's wounds. It's then that Bruce asks Dick to return to being Robin. Dick agrees. As for Boone, he gets picked up by another member of the League of Assassins, Lady Shiva.
Boone would eventually go on to assume the mantle of Shrike and return to face Dick Grayson on several occasions. Dick would also get another Year One title, this time covering his early adventures as Nightwing. That was published in 2005 and will probably be told at a later date. And as for Robin Year One, well, I have to give it a solid B. It's well written, good artwork. The story itself is very solid. My main problem is the pacing of the comic. This was a prestige format book. Now, if you don't know what a prestige format book is, it's basically a double-sized comic. The average comic is 22 pages long. Well, they say 32 pages, but it's really 22 pages and 10 pages of ads, but I digress. Prestige format books tend to be about 44 to 48 pages long. And because of that, this book's pacing is just really slow at times. I think this would have worked much better as an 8-issue miniseries rather than as a 4-issue prestige format series. And, well, that brings us to the next, or what we'll be doing next time on the Random Trade Review. So, let's find out.